Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You're always most welcome. Today, a bit of a treat for you. We're still in what is the 50th anniversary year of the start of the Matchbox kits range from Lesney in 1972 when they started. And I seem to have been talking about this all year, don't I? Mainly because I'd run out of material, or had I? A lot of you have helped out by sending me Matchbox kits that I've never seen before, so that's been really great. So it's got some extra legs and continued. I think there might be more to come. But we have here something that I've got a couple of kits that I've not shown before and never opened, so I don't know what the contents are like. I've not seen reviews of them either. But I've got a couple of these sort of mid-generation 1983 boxings. Now these are the boxings where, we'll talk about the plane in a minute, but these are the boxings where there's no window in the back of the box and the cellophane wrapped. And because of the cellophane wrapping, I've been very reluctant to actually get them out and actually break the seal. However, in all fairness, having thought about it, I've got a couple of kits coming up. We've got this one, and we've also got the B26 Marauder. Well, it's a real treat because that's a Red Range. Maybe that later, another day. But we've got today, for your entertainment, a first ever opening of this box, just purely for me paying back to some of the subscribers and viewers, I think. So I thought, well, actually, it's probably not one of the highest value kits that I've got in the Matchbox range anyway. I don't think that opening it will make that much difference to its value, especially if I'm careful. And if I, you know, slit around carefully around the edge of the cellophane so it still remains intact, really. So let's talk about this plane. Not one I know a huge amount, if I'm honest, historically, but it's quite an interesting history, isn't it? Developed really by the Americans, Douglas Company, to be a sort of medium bomber, but also to be sort of a night fighter and ground attack aircraft as well. So they developed two versions: the Boston bomber, which is the version that got used by the French and the British, South Africa, I think Australians had them, Holland had them, quite a lot of countries bought them actually. And then there's the ground attack version, which they call the Havoc rather than the Boston. Havoc A20G in this case, and the Boston Mark IV bomber. Now there's an interesting story about these bombers because when they were first being shown as a prototype in the States around about 1937, I think it was, the French were very impressed with this. They could see they needed a medium bomber, and it had nothing really of this quality. It's got this sort of shoulder wing design, so it's not quite a top wing. It's quite a good sturdy plane, and allegedly very easy to fly and very pilot friendly. Pilots loved it, and the French were so impressed that they placed an order for 270 of these things. So straight away, having seen it at this air display, I think it was. In 1937, and of course outbreak of war, September 1939. Very quickly in 1940, of course, the French were overrun along with the Low Countries, and only 70 of these planes had been delivered, so the other 200 actually went to the Royal Air Force. They decided to take up the order because the French government effectively went into exile, of course. Apart from the Vichy government, we won't get into that. So the Royal Air Force took on these 200 Boston bombers, and then, as I say, they were sold all around the world to other people. And so there's kind of two versions. There's one that's got a bomb aimer's window in the nose, and then there's the version that's depicted on the front of the artwork here, which has got the cannons, rather Mitchell style, you might say. Reminds me of the Mitchell variant. Is it the G? I always forget, or is it the H? I always forget. But anyway, see what I mean? So we've got the Green Hornet here, some lovely artwork as well here, and this is unadulterated artwork, in that it hasn't got the silly white in the top, which unfortunately, it's obviously on the cusp of 1983. When we look at the Marauder, we'll come to that another day, but that has got the white, you see what I mean? Anyway, so this one hasn't got that annoying white on the top of the box. It's the full artwork, and it says here, aircraft of the 675th Bomb Squadron, Dauntless Demons, because Douglas made the Dauntless, didn't they? Operating from Neo 4 Island in Dutch New Guinea, attacked Japanese airstrips and offshore oil wells on the island of Ceram in the Molucca Islands, Southwest Pacific in September 1944. What a great bit of art that is. I do like it. Very reminiscent of the Mitchell artwork, isn't it? Very reminiscent. Anyway, so it's a three-colour kit. It's an orange range. We've got on the side, you'll see it's very shiny. So it won't be a problem to take the box contents out, but they're advertising the Mosquito, the Mark about 10 Mosquito, I think it was. The Vigan, which I've got that, and got that. The Hunter as well, that's a twin seat and single seat Hunter. It's PK, it's very glossy, isn't it? PK 120. On the other side, as is their way, or was their way I should say, you've got this image of what it looks like if you don't paint it, and this is the Havoc version with the guns and the nose. And then on the rear we've got a couple of options. There's no British option unfortunately, but you've got an American option or a French option. And we've got the Havoc of the 417th Bombardier Group as pictured on the front, Green Hornet, which was a really nice scheme. And then you've got the French option, which is the Lorraine Squadron, Free French Squadron at Vity-en-Artois, France 1945. And if you look very closely you'll see at the bottom it's definitely a 1983, and hence, as discussed earlier, there is no window, sadly. Personally I think that's a little bit of a mistake. I don't know why they went away from the window. I can imagine it was quite a complicated process though in terms of speed and cost and efficiency putting those windows in, because they were just a piece of cellophane that was hot melt glued, as you probably know. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to get into this. I'm going to be very careful, so please bear with me just if I take a moment or two to do this, because I don't want to wreck it. And I just want to slit very, very gently along here and along here to try and extract it with the minimum amount of fuss if we can, he says. A bit of careful needlework required for this one. Right, we're in. Here we are. Just going to get that seam on. That's it. I think we've got it. You are being spoiled a bit today by getting this. I want to say this is one of my prized sealed examples. I thought I'd never open it, but life's for living, isn't it? And it's only a kit at the end of the day, I suppose, you know. Right, we're in. So I've got the flap open carefully, and we are going to see this for the first time. I've never seen it, as I said, so it's completely new to me. Oops, come on, do it gently. Doesn't want to open. I noticed on some of the later boxings that they put a bit of extra hot melt glue on the tabs, which makes them quite tricky to get into. Oh God. Make the boxing not careful. Come on, come on. Yeah, they have. They've got this extra hot melt. Just got to break the seal of that hot melt to get it out. They didn't have that on the earlier versions. Right, we're in the end. Okay, done it. Relatively unscathed. Oh, it's very brown. Huh. It's an interesting scheme, isn't it? Right then. So, this is the first time it's seen the light of day ever. So everything should be intact. Looks rather good actually, I've got to say, first impression. What do we have? Well, I can tell you the first thing that I notice. This is an 83 boxing, as I say, and they've dropped the stand. Now, we won't have another stand rant because I've done enough of that lately, but that's a little bit disappointing, isn't it, that they did that? They stopped the stands, because they used to have them in 3 sizes: small, medium for the orange range, and then the big M matchbox stand. Anyway, there we are. There isn't one, that's for sure. So, let's have a look at these decals. First time they've seen the light of day, ever, and they look reasonably good. Let's have a look at this. So we've got the attractive Green Hornet that's hurling a bomb, which is quite comical, isn't it? Hurling a bomb, stars and bars, lots and lots of bombing rays that are denoted on the side of the aircraft. And of course, that's the Havoc obviously. So then on this side we've got the Free French Lorraine Squadron, and they should have the Cross of Lorraine. Here it is. That's very nice. Yeah, actually they look in reasonably good condition. This is this sort of latest, more of a bluish, bluey green style of backing paper. Somebody said the other day, one of you said, when I was talking about the, was it the Dornier? I'm trying to remember which was which now. I did a couple last week into the Stranraer. We were talking about the Stranraer and the Dornier actually when we had this mottling on the front of the decal. Well, apparently somebody said it's actually residue from the wax, and he said don't worry about it. I said myself in the review that I thought it'd be fine, but he said don't worry, he said, because when you put Microsol it'll just dissipate it, it'll just disappear. once it gets the Microsol chemical products on it, so absolutely no problem. Anyway, those are fine. Let's have a look what it says. So it's obviously it's this later iteration of the instructions where they go to black and white and no colour, because it used to be orange. You can imagine, instead of it being white, it should be orange in the background. But anyway, here we go. So it says, in 1936, the future requirements of the US Air Force was being considered. Northrop Aircraft Company investigated a replacement for the A-17. Spanish Civil War combat experience resulted in a more advanced design being projected called the 7B. A prototype flew early in 1938, including an interchangeable nose section, enabling the machine gun to be built either as a fighter, to be built either as a fighter or a bomber. In 1943, the A-20G variant was fitted with a Martin-powered, operated rear turret and a longer fuselage, having alternative nose sections. Many machines were sent to Russia and Europe. The USAAF carried out 39,492 sorties with the A-20Gs. Now that's bringing me very neatly to something I've completely forgot to mention. I was talking about selling these all over the world. It mentions the Soviet Union. That was the biggest customer. I think there was something like 6,000 produced. I think the Russians bought 6,000. And they were used on the Eastern Front against the Germans very effectively. This was probably their best bomber, actually, by the 1944-45, and they had a lot of them, so they were very effective, and they were customer number one at the time. Anyway, it's got here span 61 feet, length 48 feet, engines 2 Wright Douglas Cyclone R2600, and they appear in lots of other things, of course. I think that's the same that's in the B-17, is it? Can't remember. Maximum performance 317 miles per hour, it's not bad. Combat weight 24,000 pounds. Armament 2 50 cal machine guns, 2,000 pounds in bomb load, and the fighter version has 8 of the 50 cals. Wow! So we'll have to get into the differences between the two, because we've got two different noses, I guess. Yeah, we have got two. It's just like the Mitchell. You've got various nose options. Okay, so on the back, zoom you in. We've got the small paint guide. We've got a big blank area at the bottom. I'm trying to think what that would have been. I think this is the area where they used to have the adverts for all the other things in the range, and they seem to have dropped it. Left you a blank sheet of paper. That's very odd. And we've got here various small parts being painted. The pilot, obviously, seat, propellers, part of the cockpit, the wheels, tyres, the gear. Paint the window frame, fuselage colour. On the starboard side only, it says here. Interesting. And then we've just got the internals for around the cockpit area through the window that could be seen, obviously. Then in the instructions, typical Matchbox instructions, we start off with our pilot and his yoke and the seat. And it's a very strange arrangement. It doesn't have a co-pilot in this aircraft. So you would have a bomb aimer and a gunner, so I think it was a crew, does it say crew of 3? Does it actually tell you that? I did say this, I'm pretty sure it's crew of 3 anyway. Certainly in the bomber version, it'd be a crew of 3. So you've got a window or a turret going in. You've got two options there depending on which version you are going to do, so you have to be careful with that, obviously, that mid-turret thing. If you are going to have the later version, the Havoc, then obviously you have the gun turret. You've got your tailplanes going in here, and the nose here, that's the window type nose. Is it? No, it isn't, sorry, it's just the way it looks flat. That's the gun nose, so that's the Havoc nose there, or the bomber nose here with the glass. And they put the glass in two separate pieces, which I'm not sure about the wisdom of that, to be honest. That's going to have a bit of a challenging join. Two clear parts that join down the middle, oh boy. Anyway, that was the way things were done then. Then we've got, yes, you can see there's the bomb aimer. So I was right about the crew of 3. So there's your bomb aimer. He has his own seat, which then goes into the nose. That's quite interesting, isn't it? And then you get all these ancillary parts. You got your undercarriage going on, wheels. It looks like the wheels actually will spin on this one. That's interesting as well. It's got like a polycap type design. How interesting. We haven't seen that before, I don't think. I can't recall that on other Matchbox kits. Not at this scale, anyway. And then we've got the, it's a tricycle undercarriage, so you've got your nose leg going in, and then you're fitting in these legs, and it looks like, actually, like you might be able to make those retract, actually, if you're crafty here. It looks like it would be retractable, doesn't it? Anyway, then you got your engine, engine cowling with the front of the engine with the cylinders in it, and then you've got your propeller just next to my thumb there. And then we put the wings on, fairly conventional sort of setup for the wings. There we go. Fairly conventional setup for the wings, top and bottom wing. The nacelles go underneath, and then you pop your front of your engines on at the front, obviously. And then you've just got lots of gear bay doors, and the cannons, the 50mm guns at the front in the nose. That's on the Havoc version. So it's nice to have two versions. It's a bit like the Mosquito, isn't it? That's another one that has a similar setup. So, sorry about the green screen. So, what do we think so far? I have to say I quite like it. Don't forget it's only an orange range, so it's competing sort of with the Mosquito, and it's a very similar setup the way they've laid it out. It looks very good. Let's start with the clear parts. They do look really nice, actually, I've got to say. Even despite my reservations about the split down the middle on the Bombay. But anyway, what do you think of these? Those are really crisp and bright. Don't forget this is 49 years old. Is it 49 years? No, it's not, is it? Technically it's a little bit newer, isn't it? It's 39 years old because it was 83. 39 years old, still quite old. But they do look, there's your gun turret here, look. Looks pretty new, it looks pretty sharp, and it's got a couple of scuffs on it. That's just because Matchbox didn't protect them in the box. That's just box rash. But that's really nice, actually. It's got a nice bit of framing there. So if you get a mask set, you'll be able to get a nice canopy framework done really sharply. And then you've got this. This is the Bombay. Sorry, the nose where the bomb aimer sits, I should say, not the Bombay itself. I'm not sure about this split design. It's a pity that couldn't be all one piece, really. But you know, the other windows seem pretty decent. They look a little bit yellowy on this side. I don't know why. These look a lot clearer. Is that my imagination? Is that the angle I'm looking at it? I don't know if you can see better than me. Probably can. But that's nice glasswork. I like the windscreen. That's really nice, actually, that canopy. Yeah, it's got this strange situation where it's almost like it's like a fighter, isn't it? It's got the pilot sits straight down the middle. Not like the Mosquito or the Mitchell or anything like that. Pilot sits down the middle, he's got this bomb aimer cramped up underneath him, and then he's got a gun behind, you know. So it's quite it's a very unusual setup, actually, as a concept. But it meant a plane that wasn't overly heavy, and this is one of the reasons I think it was a good flyer and why the pilots liked it. Very manoeuvrable, etc, etc. Anyway, let us look at the important bits now. We've got some big, chunky, brown dog dirt coloured plastic. Perhaps that's a bit unfair. Perhaps I think dark chocolate. Well, milk chocolate really, isn't it? Maybe a bit of both really. It's just an unfortunate brown colour. But we have got raised panel lines here. Bring you a bit closer. Yeah, it's mainly raised, I've got to say. But you've obviously got recessed. It's got a huge rudder. Look at the depth of that rudder. It's massive, massive. Yeah, that's a big old thing. And then you've obviously got these alternate noses that go on the front here. Obviously the top one is the one that's going to have the bomb aimer glass house at the front, and then the one below is the one that just has the 850 cals in the nose. I say 8, it's actually got, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4... I think there's 6 in the nose, I may be wrong. And I think then they've got another 250 cals obviously on the gun emplacement further back. Then we've got our pilots, which are the usual sort of Matchbox fare, but they're not too bad at all, really. They're always fairly good, aren't they? Decent. And then we've got the nose section here. In fact, that has actually room for 4, doesn't it? Not 6. That's interesting. So where's the other 2 then? It did say very clearly that there were 8 50 cals. I think that 2 of them are down in the chin here. I think you get a 50 cal here. I think there's like a pod And I think it has a cannon there. Does it not show that? Yeah, I think it's here. Just there. There's one either side. 4 in the nose and then 2 in the top turret. Makes sense, doesn't it? So there's one either side of the chin. Again, a bit like the Mitchell style. So I'm glad I got to the bottom of that. So it's got a tail on this design. It's got a tail that actually spans both sides. Oh no, it doesn't. Actually, this is very unusual. I'm wrong. It's got a conventional tail on that side, but then you have a separate tail piece here, and no tail at all on here. Excuse me, that's very odd. I can't recall Matchbox doing that before. But it's nicely figured. Good detail. Very nice. Can't complain about that at all. So, next one. Excuse me. Very green, Kermit green this time. What does that remind me of? Was it the Mosquito that had? I think it had the same green. It's actually a very weird green. It's kind of, I don't know whether it's just picking up on the camera, but it's very, almost like a translucent metallic looking effect. Very curious plastic this. I can't recall seeing it quite like that before. You can see through it though. You can definitely see through it, can't you? Sorry, I've got a bit of a cough. I think it's just a bit dry today. Okay. So we've got our nacelles here, and then you've got your engines and various small parts like the gear there. Recessed panel lines mainly. There's some raised. Yeah, there's some raised. This line down here is raised, but the rest is recessed. Isn't that colour curious though? It's almost like something from a psychedelic dream. It's very, very unusual colour. It looks most odd, especially under my bright lights. It looks very curious. Now, something else that is very, very strange. Have you noticed? So we've got the split. Obviously, it's a top and bottom split. So that I think is the top of the tail planes, and then they put the rest on another sprue, which is the black sprue, the last sprue. So they've got them black underneath. Obviously, this is the thinking about the Night Fighter bit, I think, because they often do paint them black, and it doesn't show that as an option, which is a shame. But they were used as Night Fighters, so yeah, in its Havoc mode. It's quite an interesting, actually quite a clever choice of colours they've gone for. Not sure about the green, but anyway, there we go. Engines look really good, don't they? Look at that. Those are nice and beefy looking. Some good detail there. That's really nice. Got your engine cowls there. Propellers. They don't really have a separate spinner, do they? It's all built in really. And then you've got, as I mentioned, the lower side of the tail planes. Horizontal stabilisers, if you will. And again, we've got this mixture of recessed, raised. This is raised, the ones that run that way are raised. And then this way seem to be recessed. It's actually a nice, it's one of their nicer sort of engravings, this. I think it's a bit more, seems a bit sharper and a bit less trenchy than normal. I think that's really rather nice, to be honest. Not sure that we've got too much to complain about here. It looks really, really nice. And it looks kind of new, doesn't it? You've got a few other things. You've got intakes here, and you've got obviously your tyres and wheels. Quite a nice kit, to be honest. I think that we've kind of been treated to another treat, let's call it, shall we say. But kind of better than I expected. I'm still stunned about this green. It's like a pearlescent effect. I'm not sure how it's coming out on the camera compared to what I'm seeing, but it's almost like, making me go on a bit of a trip. Anyway, what do we think? I have to say that the kit is actually better than I expected. I was thinking, some of these subjects, they don't always do that well, but some of the detailing on this is actually very good. You've got all the separate guns, you've got the turret. You've got this alternate nose. There's quite a lot in the kit for the money. You know, that would have cost, I did have a price label on them. I didn't actually know what the price was. it would have cost in '83 around about £1 to about £1.20, something like that. So, well, I can't fault it. The only criticism I think on this particular one is the lack of the stand, which I think is a little bit disappointing. It's not really explained. In fact, I've just remembered something. I've just thought of something. That's what they took out. They normally show the stand, don't they, in all the other Matchbox instructions, showing a Spitfire on it and showing it, you know, like pivoting in different angles and all the rest of it, multi-post stand. That's what they've taken out there. So it'll have been the range here for the orange range, and then it's the illustration for the stand. Just remembered. That's why it's not there. So it's a bit disappointing that they did that. So not to be too harsh on the kit because of that, but I'm going to give it 9.5. I think it would have been a 10 out of 10. This, no question at all. The quality is really nice. The moulding seems better, just a bit sharper, a bit more credible looking, a bit more realistic. And I think it's a nice and interesting subject. So 9.5 out of 10 is where I'm at. Hope you'll give me 10 out of 10 with a thumbs up. And don't forget to smash that like button. And if you haven't done already, please do subscribe to the channel. And if you are a subscriber, double check you've dinged the notification bell so you get a good early warning that there's a video coming up. Obviously there's more to come because we've got another treat for you. Whether it be tomorrow or whether it be in a few days, maybe another week, I don't know, but we've got that in a similar vein. So actually I'm full of enthusiasm for this now because I'm expecting, again, something I haven't seen before. I think that's going to be really rather special. Something for you to look forward to. Totally sealed Matchbox kit that's never been opened, never seen the light of day. Stay tuned folks, there's more to come. Anyway, in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, found it interesting. It's always nice to go through these things, and it just makes me want to do more. Anyway, look after yourselves. Hope to see you again in the very near future. Thanks a lot. Stay safe. Take care and bye for now.